Alright, Subpart B, response plan. Operators required to submit the plans except to provide paragraph of the section. Well, operating pipeline safety grants. Require the federal on-scene coordinator to require the operation of the pipeline paragraph to be to submit the response plan. Each of the operator onshore pipeline facility prepared with the submit the response plan. PHMSA provided 194, 119 of the pipeline, which does not meet the criteria of the exhibit substantial harm with 194, 103 with the, and C with it is not eligible for the exemption with 194, 101B can be expected to scan the substantial harm. Operative the substantial harm. Full pipeline facilities must prepare with the submit the plan with the PHMSA review the exempt the operated need for the submit the response plan. Pipeline has a pipeline that has 6.58 of an inch or less outside nominal diameter that is not 10 miles or less in the length of all of the following conditions apply when the pipeline is not experienced with at least greater than 1,000 barrels within the previous 5 years. The pipeline has not experienced less than at least 2 reportable releases delivered in Statute 195 50 within previous 5 years. A pipeline containing electrical resistant welded pipe with the manufacturer prior to 1970 does not operate the maximum operating pressure established in Statute 195-406, corresponding with the stress level greater than 50% of the specified minimum yield strength of the pipe. The pipeline is not approximated to navigable waters, public drinking water intake for the environmental sensitive areas. 2.1 line in section greater than 6.58 of an inch outside nominal diameter greater than 10 miles with the length of the operator determines the unlikely worst case of the discharge at any point of the line section would adversely affect within 12 hours of the initiation of the discharge. After the initiation of the discharge, any navigable waters water to undertake with the environmental sensitive areas. On line section 6.58 of an inch less than outside of the nominal diameter in the mouth is 10 miles or less in length of where the operator determined the unlikely worst for the case of discharge at the point where the line section would adversely affect the 4 hours after the initiation of the discharge any navigable waters, public drinking water intake with environmental sensitive areas. 194, 103, significant substantial operative statement. The operator shall submit that statement with a response plan as required in Statute 194, 107, 194, 113, identifying with this line section response. Zone with is expected in the case of the significant substantial harm of the environmental event of the discharge of the oil into the navigable waters adjoining shores lines. If operator expect the line section of the responsive zone that the significant substantial harm through the entire response zone must be purpose of the response plan review approval treated with if they expect the significant substantial harm. However, the operator will not have to submit the separate plan with each of the line section. The line section can be expected to cause significant substantial harm to the environment if the event with the discharge of oil into or now the navigable waters adjoining shorelines if the pipeline is greater than 6.58 of an inch and outside nominal diameter greater than 10 miles in length. The line section has experienced release greater than 1,000 barrels within the previous 5 years. Experienced with 2 or more portable releases defined in Statute 195 50 for the previous 5 years contained within any electrical resistant welded pipe manufacturer prior to the 1970 operated the minimum maximum operation pressure that established in 195-406 with the corresponding stress level greater than 50% of the specified and minimum yield strength of the pipe. Located with the 5-mile radius, the potential effect of the public drinking water intake that could reasonably be expected to reach the public drinking water intakes is located with the 1-mile radius, the potential effect of the environmental sense of the area and or could reasonably be expected to reach these areas. Alright, 194, 105. Worst case discharge. Each operator shall determine the worst case discharge for each of the response zones to provide with the method. Methodology would include the calculation of the arrive at the volume, the worst case discharge for the largest volume in barrels over the following pipeline maximum relief, the time in hours plus the maximum shutdown and response for the time in hours based on the historic discharge data or in absence of the historic data, the operator's best estimate multiplied by the maximum flow of the rate expressed in barrels per hour based on the maximum daily capacity of the pipeline plus the largest line during the volume after the shutdown of the line section in the response zones expressed with barrels or largest foreseeable discharge of the line section within the response experience in barrels based on the maximum historic discharge in one of the existing adjusted the E&E subsequent corrective preventive maximum taken if the response zone takes the one or more breakout tank for the capacity of the single largest tank with a battery tank for the single secondary of the containment system with adjusting the capacity of the side of the secondary containment system expressed in barrels and cubic meters. Operators may claim prevention credits of the breakout tank, secondary containment, and other specific spill prevention measures as follows. And then it shows your prevention measures. Alright, 194 is 107 the general response plan requirements. If the response may be included to receive the lift of a receiver with the response maximum extent of the practical the worst case of discharge substantial threat with the discharge substantial threat term with the equivalent of abnormal operations that outline Title 49 195 402 D. They comply with the requirements of the operation and can incorporate the reference into the response plan appropriate to proceed with the manual of the operation maintenance of the emergency. The been prepared compliant with the Title 49, 185, 405, 402. One operative may certify the response plan reviewed in the NCP each for the applicable to ACP, if the response plan is consistent with the NCP of each applicable to ACP. Following minimum consistent within the NCPA National Collection NCP Facility Response Plan. Demonstrate the operator clear understanding the function of the federal response structure, including the response of the National Response Center, and reflecting the relationship between the operator of the response organization, sole of the federal on-scene coordinated role in pollution, establish provision responsible for the protection and safety of the response site, and identify the procedure to pertain to the safety, any required federal state permission for the alternative response strategy for the into the burning with the dispersant, provide the application of the ACP with the minimum of consent of the applicable ACP plan, direct the removal of the worst discharge, mitigation and prevention of the substantial threat of the discharge, identify environmental economically sensitive area, describe the responsibility of the operative federal, state, and local agency to remove the discharge, and mitigate the preventing of the substantial threat with the discharge, establish the procedure the obtainment of the expedited decision on the use of the dispersant of the other chemicals. Each response plan must include a core plan consisting of information summary as required in 194, 113, immediate notification procedure for the spill detection mitigation procedure, name and address, telephone number of the oil spill response of the organization, if the appropriate response activities, response source, the name of the telephone number of the federal, state, local agency with the operator expected to have pollution control responsibility, support with the training, proceed with equipment testing, drilling program, and operative with the satisfy the requirement drilling program following the national preparedness for the response exercise program guidelines. The operative could not follow the national preparedness response exercise program guidelines. May have to drill the program that is equivalent with the national preparedness response exercise program. The operator must describe the drilling program, the response of the operational pipeline safety. Determine if the program is equivalent to the national preparedness and response exercise plan review, update of the procedures, and appendix in each of the response zone with include the information required. Paragraph C1 through 9. If this section of the worst case discharge calculation is specifically the response zone, an operator submitted the response plan for a single response zone, but does not need to have the core plan within the response zone. And pending for the operator with the single response zone, onshore pipeline shall have the single summary with the plan with the contained with the required information 194, 113.7, and description of operator response management system include the functional area with the financial logistic operation plan with the commanded. The plan must demonstrate the operator's response with the management system with the common terminology and manageable span of the control, and clearly define the chain of the command, sufficient trained personnel to fill each of the position. 194, 109, submission for the state response in lieu of this may be the response of the plan with the 194, 103, where the operator shall submit the response plan with the command comply with the state law regulation required with the plan with the provided equivalent greater spill protection than plan required that under this part of the plan submitted under this section must have the information summary required in 194, 113, list the name and title of the 24-hour telephone number of the qualified individuals, at least one alternate qualified individual, ensure that the contractor or other personal means necessary to provide the personal equipment to respond to the worst case discharge substantial threat of such discharge. 194, 111, then response plan retention. Each operator maintain the relevant portion of the response plan with the operator headquarters at the other location with the response activity and talk with the examining field office supervisor, vehicle spill response trailers. Each operator shall be provided with a copy of the response of each qualified individual. 194, 113 information. Some of the core plans required in 194, 107 must be included the name of the driver of the operator with each of the response contained with one more line section that meet the criteria for determining significant substantial harm of the described in 194, 103, listing of the description of the response zone and including in country and state. The information summary of the response zone with the appendix required in 194, 107 must include the information of the summary of the core plan, the number of the title of the 24-hour telephone numbers of qualified individuals, at least one alternative qualified individual, description of the response zone, including country, state, and the zone of the worst case of the discharge could cause the substantial harm to the environment. A list of line sections with each of the pipeline contained with the response to the zone with identified with the milepost survey with the station number of the other operator designated the basic of the operator determination of the significant substantial harm and the type of the oil volume of the worst case discharge. 194, 115. The response resource of the H operator shall identify the ensure the contract to prove the resource necessary for the remove the maximum extent of the practical the worst case discharge to be mitigated to prevent the substantial threat of the worst case discharge. The operator shall identify the response plan and response resource to be able to respond with the time specified after the discovery of the worst case discharge, mitigate the substantial threat in such of the discharge as follows. Show the hull volume 6 hours Terrier 1, 30 hours Terrier 2, 54 hours Terrier 3, all other volume 12 hours Terrier 1, 36 hours Terrier 2, 60 hours Terrier 3. Alright, 194, 117 training. Each operator shall conduct the training to ensure that all personnel know the responsibility of the response plan, the name of the address of the and proceed with the contact with the operator of the 24-hour basis, the name of the proceed with the contact with the qualified individual 24-hour basis, report with the personal known contact with the information of the responder with the response plan, toll-free telephone number of the National Response Center, notification proof the person gave the response activity known with the character for the head of the oil discharge, the condition for the likely worsens the emergency, the include the consequence of the facility, the malfunction facility, the appropriate action, the steps necessary for the control of any accident, discharge of oil to the minimize the potential fire explosion, toxicity, environmental damage, the proper firefighting procedure for the use of the equipment, fire suit, the breathing apparatus. Each operator shall maintain the training of the record of the individual that has been trained required by the section of the record may be maintained with the following manner as long as the individual is assigned with its duties and a response plan. Record with the operative with the personnel must maintain with the operative headquarters the records of the personal engaged with the response other than personal shall be maintained determined by the operator. Another thing in the section review of the operative responsibility share with the response person the train with the meet the occupational safety hazard standard for the emergency response operation, the title 29 1910 120 including the voluntary for the casual laborers employed during the response, the subject of those standards pursuant to the title 40 part 311. All right, 194, 119, submission and approval of the procedure. Each operator shall submit the 2 copies of the response plan, provided with this part copy of the response plan should be submitted off the pipeline safety pipeline hazard. Material Safety Administrative Department of Transportation, PHB, 80 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 205900001. Note: the submission of the plans electronic format preferred. If the plans determine the response plan requirement of approval does not meet with all the requirements of the part PHM, notify the operator of the alleged deficiency to provide the operative with the response, including the opportunity the information conformance with any proposed plan revision, opportunity to correct with any deficiency, operative to disagree with the PHMSA, determine the plan with the contained with the alleged deficiency, many petition the PHMSA reconsideration 30 days after the day of the receipt PHMS notice. After consideration relative to the material of the present of the writing and informal conference with the PHMS, notify the operative final decision. The operator must comply with the final decision within 30 days issuance unless the PHMS also additional time. For response zone of the pipeline described in statute 194-10C, the operational pipeline safety will approve the response of the operational pipeline safety determined the response plan meets all the requirements of the operational pipeline safety result of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Coast Guard, and federal to coordinate the FOSC concerned about the operator ability to respond to the worst case discharge. The operational pipe safety has not been approved. The response plan of the pipe described in the statute 194-103. See where the operator may be submitted the certification operational pipeline system. Operator has obtained through the contract with the other approved means the necessary personnel equipment to respond to the maximum extent practical. The worst case discharge, substantial threat with the discharge from the such discharge. The certificate must be signed and qualified individual or the corporate officer. If the operational pipeline safety received the request of the federal on-scene coordinator to review the response plan, the operational pipeline safety may require the operator to give the copy of the response plan. The federal on-scene coordinator of the operational pipeline safety may consider the federal on-scene coordinator with the comments for the response techniques to protect fish and wildlife sensitive to the environment on consistently ACP operational pipeline safeties remains approval of the authority of the response plan. All right, 194, 121, response plan review update procedure. For each of the operator update with the response plan, address the new operating condition, the information additional. Each of the operator will review the response plan full at least every 5 years. For the day of the last submission with the last approval to file with the substantial harmful plan with the operative that shall resubmit the response plan operational pipeline safety every 5 years the last submission date. For significant substantial harm plans operators shall resubmit every 5 years the last approval date. If new different operating with the condition the information would be substantial for the implementation of response plan, the operator must immediately modify the response plan and draft the chain and within the 30 days of the make of the such chain of the submit the chain of the pipeline hazardous safety administration example the chain of the operation condition would cover the significant chain operator response plan or existing for the extension of the existing pipeline with control for the new pipeline response zone but not covered with the previously approved zone. Relocation replacement of the pipeline in way of the substantial effects of the information included with the response plan, so as to change the worst case of the discharge volume, the type of the oil transport with the type of effect required, respond with the source for the size of the chain of the crude oil, gasoline, the name of the oil spill, remove the organization emergency response, proceed with the qualified individual, the chain of the NCP or ACP with a significant impact of the equipment appropriate with the response activities, and any other information relating to circumstances that may affect the implementation of the plan. PHMS determine the chain of the response plan does not meet the requirements of this part. PHMS notify the operator of any alleged deficiency provided with the operative respond, include the opportunity of informal conformance to any other of the proposed plan revision of the opportunity to correct any of the deficiencies. Or an operator would disagree with the determination proposed with the revision of the deficiency petition of the PHMSA reconsideration 30 days of the day of the receipt PHMSA notice. After consideration relevant material presented with the writing on the comfort of the PHMSA notify the operator final discussion. Operator must comply with the final decision within 30 days of the issuance unless the PHMSA allow for the additional time. Appendix A, Part 109, 194, guidelines, preparation, response plans, and I don't read the appendixes, but that was part 194, response plans for onshore oil pipelines.